Our success can't be based on our own value. I say this because I feel as though at the moment I'm basing my success on my self worth, the amount of work I get done, the status I'm in at life, which isn't the best way to go about things. I'm only 20 years old. I graduated 2 years ago, around this month. You know, and you can find yourself comparing your own journey to your peers. Of course, shouldn't matter. Comparison is the death, of all living life on earth. Hyperbolic, but that's what I've always wanted the saying to be. I am going to college, taking summer classes. Today I had class. We're discussing socio-economic things and trying to go more in depth on the social aspect and the economic, because there's two parts that go into that word. And the whole class I was thinking about how I didn't edit my essay enough before I turned it in. Last week I worked really hard on this essay, trying to bump up the word count, trying to get the ideas right. Was it autoethnography, autoethnography, to be specific? Connecting your cultural identity, your social identity, to your cultural identity. A huge thing. That's a part of your life and your experience. It couldn't be a saga, and it needed to be a narrative, a description, and an analysis. I did that, and I received feedback on Friday from my peers. We were discussing our essays, and they did really well. A lot of them did really well. And I couldn't have been more proud. There's this one guy in my class. He's a bit older. He's but he's my people. Brown people. And he's working to better himself. And I heard his story and his experiences, and I just couldn't be more prouder. And I actually helped him earlier today when I visited the library to help format his essay. Because technology. You know how it is. It's rough. It's not to say I didn't try hard, but I'm basing my value on the fact that I didn't edit my essay more. I didn't edit my essay enough before I sent it in for the final draft. I wasn't sure what to even do early. I always tense up. You can always tense up when it comes to assignments because you feel like school is the end all be all when it isn't. It's something that adds value. It isn't your entire value. And kids and people that don't go to school, isn't it? Are valuable. They are valuable. Your life doesn't need to be focused on school. His trades are important. And all jobs are honorable. All jobs are honorable, to say the least. I believe that. I know that. If you work at the gas station, if you work at the McDonald's, if you work at the grocery store down the street, your work adds value. You know, I work at this retail place, and you know, it's really hard to feel like it adds value, you know. To know that it adds worth. But I really needed to work hard on that essay. But I didn't. I was too exhausted from, you know, my job. I work full time. And I feel like I never have time for myself. And I don't use social media as much anymore. It's been a long road. Long road. So I just don't know what to do. But all I can say to myself is affirm that I can do it. You know, affirmations has been a big thing for me lately. They're on my wall right now. If I just switch it, boom. Fucked it up. I fucked up the camera. It's whatever. Wait. Gotta make that even. It's close. That's good enough. It's good enough. But you need to affirm to yourself that you have worth. That you have worth. You know, even if you feel like you don't have the value. The thing about values is that we need all sets of values. Doesn't matter if it's decimal, positive, negative, imaginary. There's imaginary values. You know, they can't even comprehend it. So they made an imaginary one. You know? So maybe all our values are imaginary. Maybe that's why we need to realize our success isn't tied to it. Because we still can be successful. You know, we may not be dealt the same set of hands as everybody else. But that's okay. That's okay. And it's good to recognize that. I have privilege. I'm privileged to live in this house. I'm privileged to eat. I'm privileged to be able to go to work. And I'm privileged to go to school. Not many others have that. And it's okay to recognize that. It's okay to be proud that I am even able to do this. You know, it's okay. And if you're going through a hard time right now, you're doing good. You're doing real good. You know? So when you think about beating yourself up, about not finishing that assignment, or not doing it well, or just turning it in, there's next time. There's now. Take a break. Come back to it. Have it set right on your desk. So the next time that you see it, you can sit down, put a 10-minute timer. Just look at the assignment. I promise you it's not that hard. I promise you it's not that hard. Think that you are worthy. Because you are. I know I am. I have trouble thinking about that a lot. You know, but my life adds value, or to say, adds worth to the moment we're living in right now. And your life adds value to the moment we're living in now. If we didn't have you, the world would be way more different, because cause and effect. If you didn't breathe, maybe that flower down the street, right around the block, on the side of the concrete, just bursting through. It wouldn't have you to look at, to say, oh wow, I didn't know flowers grew there. And it would grow just a bit stronger. So just know that.